Hello again, everybody. It's Captain Firefox back in Space Engineers, and today we are actually in space. Shocking, right? With a title named Space Engineers, you think they'd spend a lot more time in space. But since planets, it hasn't been that way. Today, we're doing a tutorial. That's right. Had a viewer ask. He was entertained by the videos, wanted to know what the heck I was doing. So this video is going to be based off of someone who has never stepped foot in the game before and has no idea what's going on. It's going to be very basic, a Space Engineers 101 if you will. So you guys who have played this before, you might not get anything out of it. I'm not going to go into anything that's groundbreaking new, no scripts, no mods, nothing like that. It is, what does it convey or what does it do? That's kind of the thing we're going for. So for experienced players, you might as well go watch something else right now. For new guys, let's get into this, okay? Um, there's several game starts you can start out in, game styles you can start out with. This is Lone Survivor, which basically puts you out on a platform with a refinery and assembler and tells you, good luck, have fun. All right, but you're asking, what the heck's a refinery and what's an assembler? With most things in Space Engineers, they're very, very self-explanatory, okay? A refinery refines things, an assembler things, and it goes on from there, okay? But what kind of things does a refinery refine? A refinery refines ores, okay? Ore you find from asteroids, okay? In space, they're on asteroids. On planets, there's black spots that have the ores in it. And of course, there's not a single freaking dark spot on here. There we go. Okay, over here. Now, so these dark spots right here, this blue stuff is ice right here. This is most likely iron. Yeah, it's going to be iron, not nickel. Iron and nickel look a lot alike. It's hard to tell. And what you're supposed to do is grab these fancy-dancy drills. Now, the tools, you see there's 4 different tools. What's the difference between these, okay? This is your basic starting hand drill. This is your upgraded one. This is your proficient, and this is your elite. This one does the best. All right, they're tiered levels, so tier 1's your basic stuff. Tier 4 is your highest stuff. And each one of these takes different ores to build. And I'll show you that when we get back to the assembler. But that's what I'm grabbing right now. This is a hand drill. That's for mining ores. Your guns, if I have to explain that to you, well, your welder is what you use to build things. I'm in creative, so I won't need to use this. And your grinder, again, grinds stuff down. Very self-explanatory. All right. But what you would do, oh, look, there's platinum back there, too. When you have your drill in your hand, it shows you what kind of ores are in the rock. Okay, that's what this white stuff is. Platinum, iron, and if you're to drill in there, hit your mouse button, and they'll float off like that, and if you're quick enough, you can grab some. So if you hold your left mouse button down to mine, hold T to pick it up, and you're going to pick up some iron, okay? Hit I to open your inventory, and look, Fe is the periodic symbol for iron. So I have some iron ore in there. Look, science. You learned something today, folks. All right. Now, come over here, you drop it into your refinery, and immediately it starts to refine it and gives you a refined iron ingot. Okay, what do you do with an ingot? All right, you pick down here into your assembler, and then go to your production tab, and you can start assembling things. The red things you don't have the correct minerals for. So, say I don't have silicone for a computer, but I have plenty of iron for a construction component, girders, large steel tubes, material plates, etc., etc. Question is, what the hell do I need these things for? All right, each one of these components right here, you can see they're actually called components. They are all used to build these items. And these are I don't know what you call them, the blueprints for building bigger things. So you put, here's your small ship blocks. So you have your armor blocks and everything over here, which are like the foundation of your ship. And towards the end of this video, I'll actually build a small ship so you can see how everything works together. All right. But you need, it doesn't say here, that's not a very good example. But if you go into your inventory tab here, go to all blocks, and you put your mouse over the light armor block, it'll tell you over on the right what you need. Okay, so you need 25 steel plates to build a light armor block. Okay, so now we know we need steel plates. So let's go in here to our assembler. And where are we at? Production. Okay. Production, need 25 steel plates. If you hold control, it'll queue up 10 at a time. If you hold shift, it'll queue up 100 at a time. Click it once, you'll get one. You're not going to want to click once. You're going to need a lot more than that. Okay, so as you can see, it is producing steel plates. Now in the assembler, you also have something called the disassembling, where you can basically tear down everything you just built, and it'll give you back the iron you used to produce it. Okay, so if you don't have anything, you can't find stuff, but you have a lot of extras, you can disassemble it and get the resources to build what you need. You've seen me do that already in my survival world. So that's that. That's a pretty good rundown of the basic refinery and assembler things, okay? If you're starting a new world or whatever, you have to have a refinery and an assembler if you're going to do anything else. End of story. These should be the first two things you make sure you have on any world where you're playing survival, okay? Without them, you can't do anything and the game is officially over. Next over here, the nuclear reactor. Pretty clear what that means. It's your reactor. This is your power source, okay? Now, in Space Engineers, you don't have to tube up if you want to. It's not like redstone in Minecraft, okay? As long as it's touching part of the structure, it will get power to it, okay? Like over here, you see these conveyors are conveying the oxygen from the oxygen generator there. You don't need that on power, okay? This nuclear reactor, as you can see, is not connected to anything, but it is touching the floor. So therefore, everything on this platform is powered, all right? Now you see these yellow boxes everywhere. That's how you connect things to everything, and I'll get into that in a minute when I connect these two together. But you can see that it's not connected to anything, and everything's getting power. All right. Now if we come in here, you can see over here that this is your max output. The max you can get out of this small reactor is 15 megawatts. Okay, and each, let's see, the refinery. The refinery can take up to 560 kilowatts. So if you were to have, I don't know, someone do the math for me. If you were to have X number of refineries, you would need an additional reactor to power it. Okay, it's something like 10, just looking off the top of my head. All right, so you can have a lot of reactors powered off of a lot of refineries powered off one small reactor. All right. Now then, how do you tube things up? First of all, you come in here, conveyor cargo blocks is where everything is set up. You can also find them under all blocks, but for me, it is just so much easier to come over to the left. Everything is kind of itemized and put into some sort of order. All right, so go here, gonna need a conveyor tube and a curved one, and we'll go ahead and throw a conveyor in there as well so that I can explain that as well. All right, and I'll spend some time on this screen because conveyors really are how you do everything, and some of it needs explanation. All right, cargo containers, there's a small, medium, and large, with the medium being over here all by his lonesome because no one likes him. It's like it says, like I said, it's a cargo container, it holds stuff. There's a small one, a medium, and a large one. Each one is bigger physically, and it holds a lot more space, or it holds a lot more mass inside of it. All right, a conveyor for large ships, large size blocks, it's a 6-way connector, so you can connect things every which way. On a small ship, you'll get 4-sided large connections, and 2 sides will have the small doors. I'll explain that in a minute when I build the ship. All right, connectors. Again, very name specific what they do. A connector connects things. So if you were to have a connector on your station and a connector on a small ship, you could then transfer items between the two. All right. You have your conveyor tubes. These are for the big size doors. The doors being these yellow things that I was talking about. Okay, those are the doors. For the large doors like this, you need the big conveyors. And I don't think there's anything here right now that has a small door on it, but I'll show you those in a minute. All right, so back into the screen, you get the big ones here. This is a conveyor sorter. Basically, you can go into that and tell it what exactly you want to allow through there. I use them a lot on a mining ship, and I will put one of those before an ejection port, and then only stone will get through there, and it'll be ejected automatically. But it's a little more high speed. We're not going to go into that right now, but that's the basics of what it does. Then you have your small conveyors. Here's the ejector. It does just what it says. It ejects stuff. It basically shoots it out, makes it look like your ship is pooping. It's kind of cool. And then you have this small conveyor tubes, a conveyor frame. A conveyor frame basically extends the block out half a block, so if it doesn't fit, you need it to extend a little further. You can get a little more room without going the whole distance. It's basically a half block. That comes into play on small ships when you're using the large conveyor tubes on a small ship. And I don't know that I'll have the opportunity to show that in the small ship I'm going to build later, but that's what it does. Alright, your small curved tubes and then your small conveyor sorter. Alright, so that's that. Now let's show you what that actually does. Alright, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hook up my refinery to my nuclear reactor. This way, if I ever were to find some uranium, then I would be able to put it directly in there from the refinery. Alright, now you'll see me rotating these things. Some of it does it by itself, like whenever I'm using this, it automatically, whatever door I'm pointing at, it'll do it by itself. Okay, but for a piece like this, your end, page down, page up, home, insert, delete keys are how you rotate things. In your settings, you can have a little screen up in the top right that tells you what button to push to turn it which way. I've been playing enough where that screen just bothers me. So if you were noticing, whenever I connected that and it was powered, these lights went from red to yellow. To show it again, they are red right now because they're not connected. And if I put this piece back in, it's connected. Okay. Now, right here, if I wanted to extend this tube on somewhere, but I can't because it's turned off right there, that is where your conveyors come in handy. Alright, you can see what I mean now by it's a 6-way connector. Alright, you have a door on all 6 sides of the cube, so you can spin it off and go every which direction you wanted to from there. So, for shits and giggles, let's go ahead and connect these two together. There we go. And voila, it's connected. Now everything we have here is connected together. So if I were to put anything over here, I could then access it over here and vice versa. So anything I were to put into this side, I could get back out over here as long as I was at a door. Now conveyors you cannot access, they're just there for moving things around. You can't access them like you could on the door right here. Alright, one of the questions a viewer asked me was about my jetpack. How do I use it? You hit X to turn it on, X to turn it off. And as you can see, that right there is a gravity generator, so there is gravity in space right now. So whenever I turn the jetpack off, I fall back to the ground. And depending on how high you are and what the gravity is set to, you can hurt yourself by falling. Alright, if I were to come over here and turn the gravity generator to off by hitting toggle block off, and I turn my jetpack on, now I turn it off, and I'm just going to float. I had a little momentum going up, so I'm going to float off into space, never ending. Alright, we don't want that, so jetpack back on, come down here, and let's turn this on for ease of everything. And you can tell when it's off, it's red, when it's on, it is blue. Alright, so that's done. Medical room. Medical room is important. You need one of these as well. This is probably the third thing I would build on any world after the refinery and the assembler. Medical room is where you're to power up. You come over here, you hold the T button, and it would revitalize your energy, which you can see in the bottom left corner of the HUD down there. You have energy, oxygen, hydrogen. Those are going to stay at 100 because I'm in creative right now, but in survival those would steadily go down every time you used your jetpack, or if you're on Mars or wherever there's not oxygen and you had your helmet on, you would use up your oxygen. In order to fly around for longer, you have these bottles over here, hydrogen bottles and oxygen bottles. Your hydrogen bottles are what fuel your jetpack. Your jetpack is fueled by hydrogen, and oxygen is for you to breathe. They power your lungs. Shocking, isn't it? Okay. You can produce these just like anything else. They take silver, which is kind of hard to find in many cases. So luckily, Space Engineers is nice enough to start you off with a couple. Do I have any here? Just oxygen here. In space, your hydrogen does not go down very fast at all, and it's really, you can just fill it up by the medical room and you'd be fine. On planets, you go through it a lot faster because gravity's there. So I would suggest having at least 2 hydrogen bottles with you, or you're going to be walking a lot, and walking is no fun. Alright, so that is the basics of how to move things around, how to conveyor things up, and how to make things. Alright, now let's go over here, and I will put all that you just learned together and hopefully build a quick little ship. Go ahead and build a welding ship because it's quick, it's dirty, it's simple, and we can move on from there. So to build a new ship, you can have small ships, large ships, or a station. A station, it does not move. You can put it inside of a block, or a block as in dirt or an asteroid or whatever on a planet, and it will never move. Large ships, or your large blocks, they move around. If you were to bump it, it would move while you're building it, and it's very annoying in space. Small ships, self-explanatory again. Currently, everything starts out with a landing gear. They're on the development branch right now. They just came out with a way to build a ship with just any block. You don't need a landing gear to start it. But for now, on the stable branch, and by that I mean there's a stable branch where you can play on, and there's the development branch, which is where they put all the new stuff out until it becomes stable, and then they integrate it over. You can check out the Space Engineers YouTube page for more information on that. I'm not going to go into it in detail here. So okay, we got a landing gear, we got a new small ship going. Alright, you can see the difference between, that's a large ship block on the station there, and this is a small ship block. See? Lives up to its name. It's small. Okay, so let's get a few of these here. And in creative, you can hold your control button down and drag it out here, which makes building so much easier. And also in creative, if you hit your M key, it will mirror everything. You just click to set it and then hit escape to get back out. And now anything I put on the right side over here will be built on the left side. I actually got my rights and left done right correctly there. I'm happy. Okay, so every ship needs a cockpit and or a pilot's chair like this over here. You can't use these chairs on small ships, so you need a cockpit. There's 2 cockpits that start in the game, and then there's probably 350,000 that have been made by modders in the community. But this is the basic one, so we're going to go with that. When you're in space, I suggest you put on a oxygen generator on your ship. That way you can breathe and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now you see these small doors? Let me turn that off so you can see it better. See these 2 yellow doors right here on this piece, on the oxygen generator? You have to match them up to the yellow doors on the cockpit for them to be able to transfer items from the cockpit to the oxygen generator. So that's real simple. You just rotate it around, rotate it around that way, and now they're touching. Okay? Now you have, instead of those small ones, you now have a big door right here, and that's what we want for this build. Since we're building a welding ship, we're going to need some storage on here. The idea behind the welding ship is to put a bunch of materials in the cargo bay, and instead of running around having to build everything by hand, you are able to just use your ship and fly around and make it a lot quicker. Alright, now we need a conveyor here, and you can see, place this down, you can see on a small ship what I was talking about. You have the 3 small doors on top. That is where you can use your small conveyors to transfer items around the ship. We're not going to use those in this one right here, because we need the big ones. So we'll put that there. And another one on this side, and I should be mirroring this right now, so let's turn that mirror back on, that way I don't have to do it on both sides. Get a couple more of these going. There we go. And throw the welder on there. Lickety split. Alright, there we go. Now instead of these welders, I could also place the grinder, and these things do exactly the same thing as your welder and grinder do in your hand. They just do it on a larger scale. So if I were to put these grinders there, I could go around and disassemble everything. And you know what, since we're in creative, let me go ahead and do that. That way I can actually demonstrate the ship, because there will be nothing to weld up. So make sure everything lines up. There we go. That's hooked up, looking good. Okay, now we have to power this thing. Okay. Now this, well, I guess we are actually going to use those. So this is my large reactor for a small ship. On a big ship, it lives up to its name. Okay, so let's flip this around so that the small door is meeting the conveyor right there. And now you can see right there, these lit up. So I have power in the conveyors and the ship is powered. Let's put a connector on the back of this. Connector, connector, connector. Yeah, that's why I use this. It's faster. Alright, so I got a connector on the back of this. Or I do now. And I'm going to come over here and put one on the station as well. And you can see again how it is different, large ship versus small ship. So now I can connect this ship to that, and I can transfer things between it. That is the point of that. Now, if I wasn't just doing this tutorial right here, I wouldn't have this ugly, hideous thing sticking up right here. But it works for the tutorial, so we can get it built. There's many different ways to hide that. You can just mess around with it and make it look good later. This is just going to be a functional ship. It's not going to be pretty. It's not what we're going for here. I'm just going to show you what you need to build a ship. Okay. This is a gyroscope. Okay? A gyroscope is what it is in real life. It helps you turn. It makes you be able to move. Without a gyroscope on the ship, you can't do anything. You can go up and down. That's about it. Okay? This lets you turn. So you don't need a ton of these, and they're pretty heavy when you're on planets. Something to think about. The more you have on there, the quicker you can turn. Makes sense. With that done, what we need are engines, thrusters. Now there's 3 different types of thrusters. Let's go back into our G menu here and have a little chat about thrusters. Okay, there's 3 different types, 2 sizes of each. You have your ion thrusters, small and large. These work in space where there's no atmosphere. They're very efficient, I guess you could say. The only thing they need is power from a reactor to work. That's it. They'll work in space. They're useless in atmosphere and in a natural gravity well. Absolutely useless. Next, you have your hydrogen thrusters. These are the newest ones in the game. Your hydrogen thrusters work both in atmosphere and in space, and their acceleration is incredible. They will move you faster than you could move by anything else in the game. Their weight to power ratio is insane. The downside to a hydrogen thruster is that they use up hydrogen. It's like a fuel. So you have to have a hydrogen tank, and it has to be linked up with a conveyor in order for it to work. So it's a little more complicated to use the hydrogen. You have to have a lot of hydrogen in order to use it, but the end result is amazing. Next is your atmospheric thrusters. Now these only work in atmosphere. So if you're on a planet, if you're on the moon where there's no atmosphere, your atmospheric thrusters aren't going to work. Clearly they're not going to work in space. But for a planet, they're the easiest way to get around. Now the difference between the large and the small is thrust, really. The large, logically, can put out more thrust than the small. The small is a lot easier and cheaper to produce than the large. So there's a trade-off for everything. You get more thrust, but it takes a lot more resources to build. So that's that on the engines. So, being that we're in space, we're going to use the ion thrusters. And remember, when building in space, you have 6 directions. It's not just front, back, left, and right. You also have up and down you have to worry about. So, we got front and back now, and this ship is not going to move fast in any way, shape, or form. We're just doing this to show a function test. Okay, so we'll put 2 in every direction. So we got front, back, left, and right. Now we need to do up and down. Again, using my end, page up, and all that fun stuff to move around. There's 2 going up, and let's just chalk these right here going down. Again, it's hideous, but it works. And I believe, if I haven't forgotten anything, this ship will now work. You got your landing gear down here. Landing gear, I mean, they do what you expect. They latch you onto things. You have to have them. You don't have to have them to land. If you're on a planet or whatever, you can just put your ship down on the ground and it'll stay there. But in space, if you don't have them, let me hop in here real quick and show you. If you don't have them on, you could. Well, I'm in artificial gravity right here, but you would just float off into space forever, especially if you had your inertial dampeners off. So there we go. Now, a little speech about the inertial dampeners is they do exactly what the name says. They're inertial dampers. If you don't have them on, you'll continue going in the direction you're going until you run into something when you're in space. Just like if you're an astronaut in space now, you go off in one direction, you're going to go off until you run into something or you die, whichever one comes first. So with them on, you don't have to push back to stop. You'll just stop. If I didn't have them on and I let off the accelerator, I would continue going until I hit backwards, and then I would come to a stop. So I try to always have my dampeners on. They're nice to have off whenever you're doing a strafing run or something like that when you're attacking something, but for the most part I leave mine on. So we have a functioning ship. Now we have to set it up to work. And we can go in here into our control panel by hitting the K button. Opens up a list of everything we have here. Okay, this shows you everything we have. Type it up here, thrusters. Hit Control and A. That's what I hit. Is that what I hit? Okay, I got Control A to get everything. Come over here and type in thrusters. Save. Now I have a group of thrusters. And let's do that to the grinders. So now I have a group of grinders as well. And that should be all I need to prove my point. Alright, open this up with your G key, and you can see everything that you can control in this panel under all blocks. So you can put all these on the individually down here if you wanted to. That takes forever. I'm lazy, so I put it on a group. Come down here, drag it down, and I can tell it to do any of these things. I like to have it block on and off. And if you come under here under weapons and tools, you can just grab the grinder, drop it down here, and you can operate it with your mouse. If you were to do it from the groups section, you could only toggle it on and off by using the number key. I'll show you the difference, okay? If I hit the number 3, they go on. I'm not touching anything. Hands up in the air. Clapping. I'm not touching. Alright? Now they're off by hitting the 3 button again. Alright, now if I were to just hit my mouse button and I let go, it'll stop. Alright, so that said, let's go over here and grind these things down, because this is a good source of... Oh, don't run into it! Ugh, when building a welding ship or a grinding ship, it's always important to have more stopping thrust than you have forward thrust. I didn't do that on this ship, and you can see I just ran into stuff. But you can see what the welding ship's doing right now. It's welding things down, and it's taking all that... Okay. Well, at this point I was going to show you how I could latch it up and connect it. Let's try to... Oh, Lord. You know, this probably isn't going to work because I haven't set that to me yet. Let's come over here, set ownership to me, select all, come over here where it says nobody, transfer it to me. Yes, share the faction. Now I can use this as long as anybody else in my faction. Alright, now I can connect these two. And I'm getting into the third person by hitting the V key, and once I'm out here, if I hold down the Alt button, I can spin around and look around without moving my ship. So, let's see if we can't back this up. And movement is WASD, like in most games. I said it was going to be basic. Alright, so let's back this up. See if we can't get in there. Get this ugly old ship hooked up. There we go. Now the connectors will grab it like that. Same thing with a merge block or anything else like that. It'll grab you and pull you towards it, make it a lot easier to line up. Hold the P key. Now I'm connected to the rest of the ship. If I come into my inventory, you'll see that I'm hooked up to everything. The white things that you can see over on the right side where it says grinder 2 large reactor connector, those are all on my ship. The red orangish color is on the station. So if there was another ship attached, it would be a different color as well. And you can see that I can pull things from the assembler over to my cargo container and back again, and everything is hooked up just like that. So with that said, I think I have covered everything that the viewer asked for. If you want anything else gone into in any depth, any more tutorials of any sort, please let me know in the comment section below. I am parking all crooked again. This just won't stand. It won't stand. I can't have that. Let's try this again. Whoop, wrong way. Yeah. Okay. Much better. Okay. So if you have anything that you want me to go into further detail about, please let me know down in the comment section. I will be happy to make another tutorial video for you. If you want to see the basics of ship design on a planet or anything to that effect, please let me know. I'll be happy to do a tutorial about it. But with that being said, that's that. That is Space Engineers 101. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit subscribe. And do check the rest of the channel for more great videos on Space Engineers and other games. And this is Captain Firefox signing out. We'll see you next time.